just want to say I love you guys. Well, we've got a lot of great news to talk about today. The Tesla team has done an incredible job of executing over the past year, and we have many exciting years ahead of us. So, yeah. So with the Tesla Master Plan Part 3, which admittedly was quite technical, we wanted to go into a lot of technical depth. It was clear that what we were saying was not just, were not merely assertions, but that they were backed up with physics and with real data, that it's realistic. And with the Master Plan Part 3, we want to, basically, the goal is to give people hope, realistic hope, and maybe hope's even the wrong word, but simply to say that there is a path to a fully sustainable global economy, that we are on that path, that we are accelerating that path, and that so long as we don't get complacent about it, it will happen. So I'll kind of rush through a recap of the Master Plan Part 3, but some of the salient points are that it will actually take less energy to go sustainable, not more energy. It's actually more, and some of these things may sound very obvious, but it's more energy efficient to go sustainable, not less. There's less mining that is required for a sustainable energy economy, not more. Also very important. I heard a question raised about cobalt mining, and you know what? We will do a third-party audit. So in fact, we'll put a webcam on the mine. And if anybody sees any children, please let us know. I don't want to go off on a tangent too much on that front, but it's very important to appreciate that most of our battery packs are iron-based. A majority of our battery packs are iron-based, not cobalt. And then our other battery packs are nickel-based, not cobalt. The nickel batteries use a little bit of cobalt as a binder, but only a tiny amount. In contrast, your phones all use 100% cobalt. I recommend complaining to the phone manufacturers. But even for the small amount of cobalt that we do use, we will make sure, 6 ways to Sunday, that no child labor is being exploited. Obviously, we're a company that cares a lot about doing the right thing, and we don't want to delude ourselves or delude anyone else. So, yeah, count. So, again, just recapping Master Plan Part 3, really the point is to say that it is very, very doable. It is happening. We need a threefold increase in solar and wind. We need to, admittedly, some of these are 29-fold increase in vehicle stationary and thermal battery production. Actually, in a nutshell, the way to think about sustainability is the faster we can make battery packs, the faster we can move to a sustainable energy economy. That's the fundamental limiting factor. So, let's grab some water here. So, yeah, I can't emphasize that point enough. The rate of lithium-ion battery production fundamentally decides the rate at which the world transitions to sustainability, because the batteries are needed for all forms of transport and for stationary storage, given the intermittent nature of solar and wind power. And we do invite people to critique our analysis, because any given analysis is going to be to some degree wrong. So that's why we put it out there, looking for critical feedback to say, well, perhaps we got some things wrong, perhaps some things need to be adjusted. But generally, the feedback we've gotten is that actually our analysis is quite accurate, and we've not seen any rebuttals thus far that would cause us to change our assumptions. So it means roughly 240 terawatt hours of battery pack, or 240,000 gigawatt hours of battery need to be produced, but it'll only take 0.2% of land area for solar and wind. So it's not like we need to carpet the earth with solar and wind. It's just literally a fraction of a percent. Roughly a $10 trillion manufacturing investment, which relative to the global economy is actually a small number. Yeah, roughly 10% of the world economy. I think 10% of the world economy is a small price to pay for a sustainable energy future. It's also true that even when factoring in the cost or the emissions required to produce an electric vehicle, which for now are a little higher than gasoline vehicles, when you look at the emissions over time, electric vehicles absolutely win by a long shot. And as we're seeing, the cost and the emissions required to produce an electric vehicle are dropping rapidly over time. And we're going to get to the point where an electric vehicle is cheaper than a gasoline vehicle. So in 2022, we avoided releasing about 13 million tons of CO2, reduced manufacturing GHG per vehicle by 30%, and reduced water usage by 15%, despite massive increases in output. We also made our factories safer, which is really important. So we track the injuries per person, and we believe at this point we are best in industry, or have the lowest injuries per person. So we're now actually quite a big company from a headcount standpoint. This is our direct employment number. So this does not count contractors. And for every manufacturing job, depending on how you count it, there are at least 5, sometimes up to 10 jobs created, because you got to look at the total supply chain, as well as all of the support functions. So, when you create a factory like this, you actually create jobs for teachers, lawyers, carpenters, electricians, and restaurants, and everything that's required to support a person at a factory. And this is why countries and states are so interested in having manufacturing facilities in their location. So anyways, it's a lot of people gainfully employed doing very useful things. We received 3.6 million job applications last year. So and once again, the top 2 most desired companies for engineers on Earth were SpaceX and Tesla. So, at the end of the day, the competitiveness of any given company is a function of where are the most talented people interested in working. That is the team that's going to win. In fact, I'd say this is generally the case. If you look at any given company and say, where are the most smartest, most driven people going to work, that company is going to win. So whether it's Tesla or any other company. We're also excited to announce our next-gen drive unit, which is a big reduction in silicon carbide. It's half the factory space. Notably, there are 0 rare earth elements required. So, yeah. And we're also changing to a 48-volt low voltage architecture in the car. So, yeah, this is a big deal actually. So the cars have been operating with 12-volt batteries for basically about a century. So for the first time in, I think, over 100 years, we're actually going to change from 12-volt voltage of, outside of the drivetrain to a 48-volt architecture. And to first approximation, that means we need only about a quarter as much copper in the car as would be needed for a 12-volt battery. So that's a big deal, because people are often worried about, is there enough copper? Yes, there is. So. And FSD Beta is growing hyper-exponentially. So that chart is going to look like a wall, basically. Just a question for those in the room: how many people have tried out FSD Beta? Okay, great. So what do you think of the latest build? Right. So it's really getting to the point where it's at least for me when I drive around, it's several days between interventions. And I think we're getting to the point where there's really just one last piece of the system that needs to be a neural net, which is the planning and control function. And so we expect to have that last piece become a neural net, so it'll be end-to-end from video in to control out as a neural net. And yeah, so the thing to appreciate is it's not that full self-driving will be as good as a person. It will be much, much better, like a lot. Like over time, 10 times safer than a person. It's not even going to be a contest, frankly. So this is a really big deal. And I think some people realize it. I think you guys probably realize it. But being able to do a software update and have several million cars suddenly go from manual driving to autonomous, I think will be the single biggest asset value increase in history. So. The normal usage of a passenger car is roughly 10 to 12 hours per week. Call it maybe an hour and a half per day. And when you drive around, you see lots of cars just parked in parking lots because out of the 168 hours in a week, they're using less than 10%, maybe 7% of the hours of the week a car is in use. But once it is autonomous, it can be used probably, I don't know, 50 hours a week, maybe more. So it is effectively a 5-fold increase in the value of a car overnight. I'm actually surprised that so few people realize this, or maybe they just don't believe it's real. But it is. So this is really an insanely big deal. We're also the largest EV maker in the world. So yeah, and I think that will continue. And while at the same time being the highest margin of any car maker in the world. Now, making electric vehicles profitably is hard, as illustrated by the difficulty of our competitors. A number of our competitors are making EVs at a significant loss. But we are not. We are actually making EVs profitably, and almost no one else is. This is hard. And I'd say for this, it's a massive credit to the Tesla team for, I can't tell you how hard manufacturing is. Like, you've probably heard me say that prototypes are easy, manufacturing is hard. And then manufacturing at scale with positive cash flow is excruciating. It's mega pain. But the Tesla team has done it. So. And as you can see, our free cash flow per year has been increasing steadily. So, you know, we're making good progress. I mean, it should be said that, and I've made some of these comments, that that interest rates make have a very big effect on the affordability of cars. So, the vast majority of people buy cars based on the monthly payment. So it's like how much is the monthly payment? And it's not a question of value for money. It's just, do they actually have enough money? Can they afford it? So for the vast majority of people, it's just, can they afford to pay the payment? As the interest rates increase and credit tightens, like, it's safe to say that these various banks that have died are probably somewhat distracted from handing out auto loans. You know, it's like if they're on their way to the cemetery, increasing their auto loan portfolio is not the first thing on their mind. So this is going to be a challenging, I'd say, a challenging 12 months. I want to be sort of realistic about it. Like, Tesla is not immune to the global economic environment. I expect things to be, just at a macroeconomic level, difficult for at least the next 12 months. Like, Tesla will get through it and we'll do well, and I think we'll see a lot of companies actually go bankrupt. So I want to make sure that this is not just the good news parade. It's important to understand that no company is immune to the macroeconomic environment. But that said, it won't be darkness forever. I expect probably a year of difficulty globally for everyone. And then my best guess is that the global economy turns around in roughly 12 months. And then Tesla will be in an extremely good position. So anyone who is a long-term investor, I think, will do extremely well. And here I want to give a big shout out to the Tesla internal software team. This is it's actually a really big deal that Tesla has such a powerful internal software team. I mean, that software team is responsible for handling the entire customer experience from buying the car, delivering the car, operating the factories, service and support. We internally wrote all of the insurance and financial software. The supply chain and logistics stuff, the data centers and infrastructure, and the analytics and insight. This is all internally written Tesla software. I think there are almost no companies in the world can do this because they do not have a very talented internal software team. So they're generally reliant on third-party enterprise resource planning software. So, but Tesla is not. This is a hidden strength of the company that often doesn't get a lot of attention, but is incredibly powerful. So once again, I'd like to thank them for their work. And as predicted, we are highly confident that Model Y will be the #1 best-selling car on Earth this year. And in fact, in Europe, the best-selling car of any kind, whatsoever, it already was that in Q1, I should say. It's not like will be, it was that in Q1. And China, the best-selling SUV, and the United States, the best-selling non-pickup vehicle in the United States in Q1. So, it's going well. I don't know if this is like the optimal picture, but Tesla cars are actually the safest cars in the world. We put immense effort into vehicle safety, and we keep updating the safety. So we keep improving the automatic emergency braking system just with a software update. And we keep improving the airbag deployment with software updates. So we close the feedback loop on, like when we see an accident, we analyze the accident, we say, what can we do from a software standpoint? Because there's actually quite a lot you can do to, first of all, avoid the accident, because the best accident is no accident. And then if the accident occurs, how do we deploy the airbags and the seatbelt pretensioners to minimize the probability of injury? So even for cars that people have owned for many years, we are behind the scenes continuously improving the safety of your car. And there are even some things that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that we actually have automatic cabin overheat protection. So never in the history of the company has a child or a pet died in a Tesla. Like, so it's one of those like little known features, but because we have a large battery and we're monitoring things all the time, we can make sure that the cabin temperature never gets to lethal levels, and I think that's a big deal. So, and then while lots of cars will say they've got like 5 stars or whatever, there's nuance to that. When we did the European NCAP sort of active safety tests, we got the highest scores that they've ever seen. So, yeah. So we got a 98% score on the active safety system, which obviously isn't good enough, and but we have got a game plan for getting rid of the last 2%. And then it's worth noting things like the total cost of ownership of a Model 3 is now comparable to that of a Toyota Corolla. So. Superchargers, we're making good progress. So our supercharger uptime is now 99.95%. So, yeah. And we have superchargers practically everywhere at this point. Going to Megapack, because this is stationary storage is an important part of solving the sustainable energy problem. And the Tesla Megapack is now more competitive than a natural gas peaker plant. So we have very strong demand for the Tesla Megapack, and we're going to make a lot of them. So, yeah. And a while back, I predicted that the Tesla stationary battery pack business would actually grow faster than the automotive side of things, and that's exactly what has happened. You can see it's an exponential curve, growing at a rate that is even faster than our vehicle sales. So, yeah, sorry. We're expanding Gigafactory Nevada for the Tesla semi-production line and for the 4680 in-house cell production. And yeah, some mega factory stuff. So this is, so we're aiming for 40 gigawatt hours a year, both in California and in China, but I think long term, this will be much, much greater than this. I mean, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if long term the stationary battery pack activity went well in excess of 500 gigawatt hours per year. So the demand is like quasi-infinite here. So. As we look ahead to tackle what we see as the choke points in the supply chain, one of them is lithium refining. I mean, there've been a few times on Tesla earnings calls where I've said, can someone please just do lithium refining? Because there's just a shortage of it. But we really see very little activity outside of China for lithium refining. So it's not that we wish to take on extra problems, but since nobody else was doing it, we felt we had to do this. And so we've just broken ground on a lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, which will be do more lithium refining than I think probably everything outside of China. So, yeah. And we've signed a deal for our next Gigafactory in Mexico, Gigamexico. And I think that's going to be a fantastic factory. So, you know, we're laying the groundwork for ultimately getting to 20 million vehicles a year. Yeah. So Cybertruck is a hard car to make. It's because it's such a radically new design. It actually, you can't just use conventional methods of manufacturing. We had to invent a whole new set of manufacturing techniques in order to build an exoskeleton-based car instead of an endoskeleton-based car. So it's extremely non-trivial to build the Cybertruck. But we're making good progress on that. We have the, so yes, that's the thing when I, in the factory, I tour the Cybertruck line to see how we're doing there. And sorry for the delay, but we're finally going to start delivering production Cybertrucks later this year. And I think the product, if anything, is better than expectations. I mean, Cybertruck is the car I will be driving on a day-to-day basis. So, and you know, people always want to know what our next product is. But this is not the time to. We obviously need to have a proper dedicated product launch. I just want to emphasize that we are actually building a new product. We are actually designing a new product. We're not sitting on our hands here. There are 2 new products that I think you will be very excited about. And both the design of the products and the manufacturing techniques are head and shoulders above anything else that is present in industry. So, yeah, anyways. If I were to guess, I would say of these two new products, just these two new products alone, I would say we will probably make, obviously this is just Elon's guess, so don't sue me. But Elon's guess is that that will probably make in excess of 5 million units a year of these two models combined. So. These are all real, by the way. I think the thing perhaps most notable is if you look at the difference between the last time we showed Optimus, and this is a video that was taken basically yesterday, and the Optimus team was up all night making this video. The Optimus team has done an incredible job, so just, yeah. And it's the motors, the controllers, the electronics, and everything you see in the Optimus robot is a Tesla-designed system. So this is, we actually tried to find drive actuators and whatnot that were off the shelf. We found that there weren't any. In order to make an effective humanoid robot, you actually have to design the motors and gearboxes and the electronics from scratch, because it's a very different application from anything else that exists. So we took our world-class motor and power electronics team and said, okay, we need to design several actuators that don't exist in the world, and they did. So Optimus is working quite well. And then for full self-driving, as full self-driving gets closer and closer to generalized real-world AI, that same software is transferable to a humanoid robot. Just like humans can obviously walk around with their arms and legs, but we can drive a car, fly a plane, steer a boat, ride a horse. If you have a generalized understanding, or if you have generalized real-world AI, which is what we are developing for full self-driving, it can be transferred to basically anything. So Optimus will use the same FSD computer as the car. The Optimus stuff is I think extremely underrated. Because people just cannot comprehend the consequences. Now, obviously, we need to make sure that we don't have a Terminator scenario. That's very important. It's all fun and games until Terminator shows up. But if you say, if you have had a generalized humanoid robot, what would be the effective ratio of humanoid robots to humans? Because I think basically everyone would want one. And maybe people would want more than one, which means the actual demand for something like Optimus, if it really works, which it will, is, I don't know, I mean, 10 billion units? It's some crazy number. It might be 20 billion units if the ratio is, say, 2 to 1 on people, humanoid robots versus people. It might actually be, it's some very big number, is what I'm saying, and a number vastly in excess of the number of cars. So my prediction is that Tesla's long-term value will be, a majority of the long-term value will be Optimus. And that prediction I'm very confident of. So, anyway. Let's see, so I think with that we can do questions, perhaps? Oh, okay, what is it? Oh, yeah, we also want to make sure, please, retail investors, please vote. Normally retail investors, for most companies, don't vote, but we really care about your vote of small investors, not just large investors. So please do register to vote. Your vote is very important. Yeah, I think that's it. So, yeah. So with that, we can go to ad hoc questions from the audience. Okay, definitely the person in the Optimus outfit with the red cowboy hat. Great outfit. Sure. And we'll try to get through as many questions as possible. And you hit me with your toughest questions. Fine.
Topic has to be about Tesla. Okay, it is. Hey, Dad, it's your son Optimus. I wanted to. Do you see it more likely that you guys will have an RV first or a cyber camper?
Well, we don't have any plans to build an RV quite yet, although I can certainly see how Cybertruck could be converted into an RV, and we are adding a lot of sort of attach points to Cybertruck, so others can build things. Somebody could have a startup, or other companies can build things that are attachments that enhance Cybertruck and turn it into a camper, essentially. Because I think it'd be really cool to have all these like third-party things available for Cybertruck.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. I mean, you could also probably just, you're that close, you could just say it or something, I don't know.
Actually, we'd like you guys to queue up behind us. So
Okay.
3 mics.
All right. Yeah, so
Go
just
ahead
queue
and
up.
get in line. Thank you.
And try to make the question short so we can get through a lot of questions. Maybe. Oh, you mean just like a Tesla team doing a podcast about Optimus? Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I wonder if maybe we could have sort of like an addendum after the earnings call, which is like a 30 minutes podcast on Optimus or something, like for those who are interested. Okay, I think we'll do that. So, all right.
Great.
All right.
Hey, Elon, thanks for doing this today. It's an awesome event. Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks for coming. Hope you guys are having a good time.
Yeah, having a great time.
I'm pretty confident we have the funnest shareholders meeting by a long shot.
Undoubtedly, yeah. It's amazing.
So,
So I'm really excited about a lot of things with Tesla. It's hard to pick a good question that is going to cover everything. But with the energy side of the business, I think it's hugely underrated. I mean, we got tons of problems California with rolling blackouts.
Sure.
How do you think you can incentivize people, more for solar, battery backup, and we've got the referral program's been beefed up as well. So, what are your thoughts there? How we can get people on board?
Yeah, actually, one of the challenges in California and a few other places is that in order to have the Powerwall be like an uninterruptible power supply for the house, we have to actually have a switch that disconnects you from the utility. Otherwise, you just, send energy into the grid, and it doesn't do anything. That's actually been quite difficult with utilities, but I'd like to thank PG&E for recently helping us get approval for installing the backup switch for Powerwall in California so that people can have uninterrupted power in California. And we're working on that in every jurisdiction. So I'm confident that that's going to be a great long-term situation. And then, as I mentioned, Megapack is growing very, very rapidly. Yeah, so things are, things are really growing like ridiculously fast on the energy storage front. So yeah, I feel good about that situation. All right, next question.
Hello.
Great.
Hey, Elon, a lot of people have just kind of been wondering, how are you doing? So just wondering, what's up? How you doing? How you feeling? We saw you were partying in Cabo recently, so just
What,
wondering
me? Must have been someone else.
yeah, so how are you doing? Just human to human, how you doing?
Well, I have to say, it's been a bit of a roller coaster situation. Like, it's actually pretty rare for me to be at a party. So that's like the first party I've been at in a while. And actually, wasn't even going to go to it. Then my brother talked me into it. So thanks, Kimball. Yeah, I have to say, like sometimes the work pain level is quite excruciating. And then on top of that, I get dumped on in the press. So it's like, it's not exactly super fun. There was a short-term distraction because I had to do like some major open heart surgery on Twitter to ensure the company's survival. But I think Twitter is now in a stable place, and obviously very excited to have Linda Yaccarino join. And so I think Linda's going to do a great job running Twitter. I'll provide obviously guidance on technology development. But as you can see, I think Twitter at this point has released more new features in the last 6 months than it has in the last 6 years. So, obviously this is not a Twitter meeting, but the larger point is that I feel at this point I don't need to devote incremental time. The amount of time that Twitter will take going forward is relatively small compared to the last 6 months. So yeah. Apart from like there's like some macroeconomic things that we can't do anything about. Overall, I feel very good about the health of the companies, and I'm increasingly optimistic about the future. Thanks for asking. It's kind of you to ask. So.
Have you guys considered stretching out the financing terms on your auto business? You talked about earlier, consumers don't necessarily look at the sticker price they're paying. All they're concerned about is monthly payment.
Right.
And one of the fundamental advantages of an EV is that it's substantially more durable. And so would you guys ever consider stretching terms out to 10 years, especially in this rate environment, given the shape of the yield curve? Extending the terms out that farther, you'd actually be capturing a lower cost of funds.
Yeah, the important thing to appreciate is that that the vast majority of the financing is from banks. So it's kind of whatever the banks are prepared to do. This year, I guess we'll do on the order of $100 billion of sales. And we don't have $100 billion in cash to finance that. So the vast majority of it has got to come from banks. So it's really the bank's choice of what they're willing to do. And it has been tricky with with banks recently because, as I mentioned earlier, if you're a bank and you're not sure whether you're going to be alive or not, it's a pretty big distraction, and increasing your auto loan portfolio is very much a secondary priority. So it's just important to appreciate it's not up to Tesla, it's up to the banks. And there's not some easy solution where you can say have a so-called a captive financing arm, et cetera, because you have to securitize those loans. And the market for securitizing them is weak. There is no, I wish there was an easy path, but there isn't. So, you know, I think it's just important to remember that the economy moves in cycles. And we've had a very long period of upcycle. The next 12 months will be, I think, difficult for everyone. And I think, you know, when Berkshire Hathaway had their annual meeting, Warren and Charlie actually said, like, hey, this year, the Berkshire companies are going to make less money. And you know, they're very well-run organizations, and I think that's just generally true for the economy. So, you know, it's also important to remember that, you know, there are good times and there are dark times, but then the good times follow the dark times. So, my advice would be, don't look at the markets for the next 12 months. If there's a dip, buy the dip. And I think you will not be sorry because, you know, there's just generally a sort of there's an economic cycle to things, but things come back up. So my guess is tough times for a year. Like I said, just my guess. But then Tesla will emerge stronger than ever, and the long term, if you say like net present value of future cash flows, will be incredible, in my opinion. All right. So.
Hey, Elon, meet Kevin here.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks. So Tesla is the largest position in my ETF, ticker PP, and that's for pricing power.
Right.
And I'm curious, I really think that some of the features that you highlighted here, like the over-the-air airbag deployments of improving the features, the safety features, are great things that we could be advertising. I know you've heard this many times before. I know you have. But
sorry, go ahead, yeah.
$525 off every car this year is half a Netflix's advertising budget. $1,000 is the entire Netflix advertising budget, and I see their ads everywhere. Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this. I just talked to Gordo, the Tesla bear, and he's still talking about 2016 New York Times pieces. These people are in the past, man.
That's like 7 years ago at this point.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's actually, I talked to a lot of people, and they still think that like Teslas are like super expensive. And like, no, actually, the starting price for a Tesla is below the average auto price in the US. It's like, and that's a good thing. Yeah. I mean, I think it's good that it's that way, you know? Like, our goal was always to make cars that are affordable to the general public. So I hear you. I mean, I think, and it's indeed ironic that, you know, Twitter is like highly dependent on advertising. So, you know, here I am. It's like, you know, never used advertising really before, and now have a company that's highly dependent on advertising. So, I guess I should say advertising is awesome, and everyone should do it. But I think I hear your sort of larger point, which is that there are amazing features and functionality about Teslas that people just don't know about. So, yeah. And although there's obviously a lot of people that follow, like, say, the Tesla account and the, you know, my account, whatever, on Twitter, to some degree, it is preaching to the choir. And the choir is already convinced. So I think what you're saying does have some merit, and you know what? I believe in taking suggestions. So we'll try a little advertising and see how it goes. Okay. Okay. All right, I wasn't expecting that level of enthusiasm. But okay, it sounds like our shareholders, if I read between the lines, subtle as it is, are saying we should probably do some advertising. Okay, very well. All right.
Hi, Elon. Hi, Tesla. Thank you for everything. So my question is regarding, you recently added Steam to the car, and that's great. We can play video games. Is Tesla currently developing the ability for other parties to develop apps for the car? For example, if we can buy actually customizable themes for the operating system of the car, I think you can make some revenue there, like that space themes for the car or Lord of the Rings or stuff like that. Do you have any interest in that right now?
Well, I mean, the important. So I think the notion of having entertainment apps and whatnot becomes increasingly important as the cars achieve self-driving, because otherwise you can only really play games or watch movies or whatever when the car is stationary. Which if it's charging or whatever, then you can use it. But when it's at the point at which it's full self-driving, I think it's very much about entertainment and productivity. So I think that is something that might make sense in the future. But overwhelmingly, the focus right now for Tesla software, apart from improving safety, is achieving full self-driving, and then getting full self-driving to be much safer than human driving. And then once we achieve full self-driving, I think that there could be a lot of opportunity for apps and whatnot. But even in the car as it is today, for a Model S and X, we've made a sort of a full Steam integration. So you can actually just literally log on with a Model S or X with your Steam account and play any game that is on Steam, which is a lot of games, which is pretty wild. I think a lot of people don't know that. You can play with a keyboard and mouse. You can play with a joystick or controller. You can also play Netflix, YouTube, or anything else. I mean, for my little son X, he loves watching, actually loves watching rocket videos in the rear screen of the Model S and X. So so it is something that we will do long term. But what I'm saying is we already have a lot of stuff there, and we'll do more as self-driving becomes a reality. So.
Hey, Elon. I'm John, or Dr. Know-It-All on YouTube, and I don't know it all. But anyway, my question is, as you guys move completely or finish the transition in full self-driving from version 1.0 of the software to 2.0, what do you perceive of as the potential stumbling blocks after that? Because it seems like that's the major, kind of step change that needed to happen, and so you're almost done with that, and what happens after that? And also, please let me interview you about full self-driving. I'll spend 2 hours talking to you about just that. So, thank you.
Well, one can really think about full self-driving as a sort of a march of nines of reliability. So we need to get to the point where the probability of injury is lower than that of the average human driver, and then ultimately probability of injury is much lower. So even at the point at which the car is capable of driving itself, there's still actually a lot of work to do, because every year there's 1 million people that die in auto accidents, and I think probably everyone in this audience has friends and family that have died or been seriously injured in auto accidents, and for there's 1 million people that died. There's 10 million people roughly that are seriously, permanently injured, and so it matters that if we can get that down by an order of magnitude, there's 900,000 lives saved per year, maybe 9 million severe injuries prevented per year, and so that really, I think, morally has to be our primary goal. I guess I'm open to an interview on FSD. 2 hours is a long time, but Okay, okay. All right, I'll do an interview. It's got to be on Twitter, but sure. All right.
Hi, Elon. I'm Josh Phillips, long-term retail investor. My question's about battery-grade lithium supply in the next 10 years. Lithium experts all agree that mines are just not coming online fast enough to meet battery supply. And actually, Drew Baglino pointed this out recently. Some mines take 10 years plus to be permitted. And even GM has actually announced like huge lithium deals that will like secure away supply from the rest of the industry. So what's Tesla's plans to get more supply of lithium at the mine level outside of refining, but also at a deeper level than a traditional offtake? Because as we know, he who controls the spice controls the universe.
Sure. I actually think that the industry analysis is incorrect, and the constraint is fundamentally that of processing. Now, our refinery in Corpus Christi that we're building is primarily oriented towards refining spodumene, of which there is a truly vast amount in the world. I think about 3/4 of our lithium comes from Australia. And frankly, you could increase the rate at which the mines are operating, and the limiting factor is not how fast can you mine, but how fast can you process. So the mines are only going to produce ore at the rate at which refineries can handle the ore, or it's pointless. So I think my opinion, and obviously I could be wrong about this, but is that it's really not about the lithium ore. Lithium is extremely common. Lithium is everywhere. In every country's got lithium. It's not like oil. So lithium is one of the most common elements on Earth. But taking the lithium ore and refining it to battery grade is extremely difficult because the purity levels required for a battery are extremely high. If you have even a small impurity, then you will degrade the life of the cell dramatically. So you need ultra-pure battery grade lithium, and that's why our focus is on refining as opposed to mining. Thank you.
Hi, Elon. Thanks. It's a great time here. You spoke about safety in your presentation of the vehicles, and I just want to say I'm thankful to you for building such a safe vehicle because I'm here today with my son. We drove in his Tesla 3 over here that he replaced with the one that he got rear-ended significantly in, and it destroyed the car. But we're able to be here today, so
great.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So, what's your way to look? There? Okay.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Austin Gregory. I'll ask about this because I don't think it gets near enough love. But I was wondering if there are any updates on the next-gen Roadster, actually. Yeah, I know it's sort of like the cherry on top and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot on your plate, if you've said before. But if there's any updates on like the release timeline, all that stuff, the SpaceX package, maybe.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. Thanks.
Totally fair and reasonable question. Where is that thing? We expect to complete the engineering and design of the next-gen Tesla Roadster this year, and hopefully start production. This is not a commitment, but hopefully start production next year. So, but. It is like as you alluded to. It's not even the icing on the cake. It's the cherry on the icing on the cake. So I wouldn't expect it to be like. It's definitely not going to be a huge contributor to revenue. It will be a modest contributor to profitability, but it will be sick. So, and. There's some value to me running two companies because the next-gen Roadster will have the SpaceX option package. So, that'll make it truly next level. So.
Hey, Elon. Eva McMillan here.
First of all, I want to thank you for making the absolute best, safest, and most fun cars in the whole world. Cars in Florida, we are seeing many, many more cars in Florida than a year ago.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, cars are doubled. So the question is, we all want Tesla insurance.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
it coming?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Actually, that's a great question. Okay, Zach says it's coming later this year. But I have to tell you, like, one of the thorniest things in the United States is car insurance, or insurance in general, because it's a state by state, and every state's got different rules and regulations. So that's why it's not like rolled out nationwide. I think really there should be one national standard for insurance, especially car insurance. I think it would improve the cost effectiveness of car insurance. But our intent is to roll out nationwide and ultimately internationally. But there is a staggering amount of paperwork that is needed to get it done. But as Zach said, we expect to offer Tesla insurance in Florida later this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you, Elon. Alexandra Mertz. I am Tesla Boomer Mama. Very happy to be here.
All right.
So very grateful to the Tesla team and you, of course. Just want you to know we love the emotions every day, joy and less joy, but we're there. Shareholders, it's not easy. We're here not because it's easy, but because it's hard. So my question initially was on in-house financing. You already answered that, and I want to congratulate you to the double investment grade rating. But then I asked my Twitter subscribers, I'm sure you're going to appreciate, what they wanted to bring forward.
Sure.
And that question made the cut. Here we go. Automotive, including SAS, peak margin, the same for energy. What number and by when do you have the best Elon guess that we get there?
Sorry, I'm not sure I fully understand the question.
So this is the peak margin for automobile,
Oh, yeah.
including SAS and energy, and by when will we get there? Your guess. I know nobody will sue you.
Sorry, what's SAS?
Well, software as a service.
Oh, okay. You mean self-driving?
FSD,
Yeah.
what's going to be the top automobile margin? And
Yeah. I mean, what I was saying earlier is that at the point at which you have a truly autonomous vehicle that can drive around with no one in it, the utility of the vehicle, I think, as a rough guess, is probably 5 times what it is today, because people will drive an average of an hour and a half a day, perhaps, so 10 hours a week. But if the car is autonomous, it can probably, this is just speculation, but it probably can operate for a third of the hours in the week, which would mean 50 or more hours, thus a 5-fold increase. But the car costs the same.
Sure, I understand, but what is going to be the margin for Tesla then? Because you're obviously thinking you're going to sell much more FSD then, right? You may have a system in place of robotaxis. You may have a cut with fleets. So did you do any projections what the automotive peak margin for Tesla could be in 2 years, 5 years, and the same for energy?
Well, I mean, this is definitely, we're in sort of highly speculative territory here. But obviously, if you've got a car that costs the same and has, say, I don't know, a 20 or 25% margin, and suddenly is able to be used 5 times as much, then you might have 80% margins, and the revenue would increase several-fold. That's why I say it's probably going to be the biggest asset value step change in history of Earth. And energy does not have just simply does not have such an increase in asset utilization. So I would expect energy to remain at sort of a 25%-ish to 30% margin.
All right, so you said ask the tough questions. You're still good, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. First of all, though, as a family man, I just want to say there's a couple of things like a loop for tether of a of a car seat going through the headrest, which would be super helpful. There's a couple other things that would be really nice. The Model Y is the only one you can do that in today. Maybe we could fix that. But when we're thinking about 4680 battery cells, should we be thinking about the efficiency and the performance we're getting today? Or is there some updated timeline path that we could see closer to battery day presented efficiency, performance that we can look to in the future?
Well, I think, first of all, it's really important to express the difficulty of, for Tesla to go from nothing to making a battery cell that we aspire to be better than any other battery cell on Earth, even when compared to companies where the only thing they do is make a battery cell, is obviously not a trivial exercise. That said, we do see a path to very high energy density and higher energy density and lower costs than anything else out there. But it's a hard path. It's a very hard path. Normally it would be absurd for companies to attempt such a thing. And no other car company is really attempting to do anything like this in a serious way. So I guess technically BYD, because they started out as a battery company, but yeah, so it's a very difficult thing to do. But I think we are tracking to success in that regard. So.
Hey, Elon. First of all, thank you for undoubtedly making the world a better place for my son to live in.
Thank you. It's kind of you say.
Once Cybertruck is fully ramped in Austin, what is the target production? And also, there's some rumors that you're thinking about stepping down as CEO. Please say it ain't so.
It ain't so. Yeah. Yeah, so I think Tesla's going to play an important role in AI and AGI, and I think I need to oversee that to make sure it's good. So, because that's a thorny problem if there ever was one. I think generally people do not, or very few people, even in the AI community, do not appreciate just how much capability Tesla has in AI. It's by far the most advanced real-world AI. There's no one even close. Reality has the most degrees of freedom. So I got to make sure that's good. So, and you were saying something?
Cybertruck fully ramps
here
in Austin. Target production.
So, as I said, we'll start production later this year. We'll start handing over cars later this year. There will be an S-curve of production, so it'll be slow at first, and then ramping up. And I guess we'll see what the demand is like. So, I think we're likely to do probably 250,000 a year, I think, maybe more. Again, very much dependent on what the demand is like, and it's we don't just need to ramp up production, but we also need to improve the production cost efficiency, which is going to be also a very, very hard thing. So, but I'd say it's 250,000 a year is a reasonable guess. And it might be 500,000. I don't know, but we'll make as many as people want and can afford. But then, like I said, it's going to be hard to make the cost affordable because it is a new car, a new manufacturing method. So, in the grand scheme of things, relative to the production rate of all the other cars we make, it will be small, but still very cool. Yeah, thanks.
Elon, maybe 3 more questions?
Sure.
Thank you. Good day, Mr. Musk. Hello, my name is Delia Archer, and this question aims to address Tesla's efforts in developing skilled workforce, attracting diverse talent, and promoting career opportunities within the company. When I look around, I see a lot of young faces, and I think about internships and apprenticeships for students in high school and beyond. My question is, are there any plans to expand existing partnerships and explore new avenues for collaborations with educational institutions and nonprofit organizations to attract the next generation and vary career pathways?
Yeah, actually, with all of our gigafactories, we work with the local schools, actually from the high school level, community college, and university, because it's incredibly important to foster the talent for the factories. As you saw from the employment numbers, we actually need a lot of people. Even though we've got a lot of automation, we still need a lot of people to operate the factories, and it really matters that they have the right training. So we're big believers in reaching out to educational institutions, and because frankly, it's in our interest to do so. Thank you for asking the question. All right.
Elon, Josh Fuller. I had originally thought of asking about the fun police and pushing back on the boombox and allowing us to screech at people with goats again. But after seeing Optimus, I was inspired to ask, has anybody asked Optimus's opinion of Mars, and does he have a ticket yet?
Well, you know, Optimus is not a deep thinker at this point. Optimus is still, you know, figuring out how to do basic stuff. It couldn't make, you know, cook some eggs or something quite yet. So we need to get Optimus to the point where it has reasonable agility and can do basic things. You know, and we're aiming for it to start off doing simple tasks that are sort of boring and repetitive or dangerous, basically jobs people don't want to do. So that's our goal, and I'm confident we'll achieve that goal. And then we've got to figure out how to make it at scale, make sure that the robot is safe. I think it's going to be very important to have a local means of turning it off. So safety is going to be extremely important. I can't emphasize that enough. But right now, it is not at an intelligence level where it's pondering questions like Mars. But perhaps it will be one day. So.
Hi, good afternoon, Elon. My name is Luke Arsenal. I just want to start off by saying a big thank you to you and the team of Tesla for all you guys do. It's been great to see, and I'm so happy for you guys. My question is, with the rise in cybersecurity threats to operational technology and Internet of Things, what steps is Tesla taking to protect the company itself and its products from these threats? Also, as a suggestion, because I know you like suggestions, for the navigation, do you think we could do something on the UI that adds in when you're about to take the off-ramp to show a picture of that exit, kind of like other map systems do? And then also...
Oh man, this is a lot of questions.
One of my friends wanted to get a shaka from you, if that's possible.
Okay. Well, we are constantly improving the navigation system, and being robust to hacking is incredibly important. In fact, we conduct a lot of sort of third-party hacking contests to try to get the best hackers in the world to break into our cars. And actually, no one has yet actually broken into a Tesla in a way that would allow you to really control the car in a significant way. But they have gotten to where they can like honk the horn and mess with the infotainment system. And I'd like to thank them for their efforts. So we take information security extremely seriously. For navigation, yeah, there's definitely things we can improve there. But really, down the road, navigation visuals are not going to matter very much because the car is going to take you wherever you want to go. As for pictures, I have to decline, unfortunately, because otherwise, if I say, I actually hate being rude to people. So if I say yes to one person, then it's like selfies for a zillion. It gets kind of crazy. So, but thanks for asking. Maybe we'll take one or two more questions actually. So, sure. I don't know.
Okay, what's your issue?
Hello. I had a question on the efficiency. I don't know if you've been paying attention to Aptera, and I was curious if you thought that was a space that you could see Tesla getting into, as far as not just an efficient manufacturing process, but also the actual car itself and range. Or just buy.
I'm not super familiar with them, but we have a lot of we have a lot of products to get done. It's not like it's never a shortage of ideas. Ideas, frankly, I find ideas to be somewhat trivial, but the execution of the idea is extremely difficult. And as I said, like prototypes are easy, production is hard. Production and cash flow positive is excruciating pain that you like at a level you cannot believe. So it's not product ideas; they're irrelevant. That's what I think of them. It's sort of like the idea of going to the moon. That's not that's irrelevant. Getting to the moon is the hard part. So, okay. So maybe one last question. Yeah.
Elon, John Lopez from Orlando here. I've got two things for you real quick. The first one is with rideshare being a growing thing, especially with Tesla owners, are we going to get a guest mode option available for that? The second thing is as an X-Plaid owner, I would really love to get track mode.
As a what, sorry?
X-Plaid.
Well, Plaid has track mode.
The Model X Plaid does not, though.
Oh, Model X. Yeah, we can probably add that, sure. Yeah, no problem. So, rideshare is a bunch of these things will really not be relevant in a self-driving world. You can summon the car and take you somewhere, and if you want to add someone to that ride, you can if you want to. But overwhelmingly, it is about achieving self-driving, full self-driving. And I think we're really getting to the final stages of full self-driving where, I drove for several days around Austin, just dropping pins in random locations, and I had 0 safety interventions. So it's really, and even in the city of San Francisco, which is very complex, I haven't had a safety intervention in a long time. So I think it's getting to the point where, admittedly, I have been optimistic about this in the past, but I think this time. All right, I won't say it. All right, fair enough. All right. Okay, I think it'll happen, So, all right. You want one last question? Sure.
So first, congratulations on your decision to try advertising. We all want Tesla to pass Apple in market cap.
I didn't realize people wanted it that much. Okay.
It's good that a lot of people agree. So earlier this year, you cut prices on everything, 15, 20%. More recently, you've been raising prices on Model Y, Model S, Model X. And can you just talk about the pricing strategy on Model Y going forward and keep it separate from the decision to bring out the next-gen vehicles that we all agree is going to, blow the doors off on volume. But just on Model Y, it's the best-selling product in the world. Can you just talk about strategy of pricing going forward on that?
It's pretty straightforward. We see what the demand is, and then we adjust pricing to meet the demand. Now, the thing is that what happens with other car makers is that they're actually constantly adjusting pricing on cars. It's just not obvious. In the case of Tesla, you can see immediately when there's a price change that occurs because we don't have any intermediaries, don't have any dealers. There's no manufacturers just at retail price. But the reality is actually at car dealers, the prices are changing radically. I mean, last year there were significant premiums above MSRP at sort of the conventional car dealer, so you'd pay above MSRP last year. And then this year, I think things are below MSRP or close to it. And then the manufacturers will then also offer incentives. So what's actually happening are very big price shifts by other car makers. They're just not obvious. Whereas with Tesla, it's obvious. And this is necessary because demand fluctuates a lot. So something's got to be done to achieve a supply-demand clearing point for volume. So just people are reacting to something that's obvious as opposed to saying, oh, yes, every car company does this all the time. Tesla is no exception. That's the actual reality. So, all right. So.
Last question.
I'll be really quick.
Okay.
So I will say I have been driving FSD. My wife drives FSD. There's a term called the wife test. My wife will only drive our kids on FSD. It's incredible.
That is a great. I mean, the sort of significant other test is a very a good test because for a while there was like friends or significant others would be like, please don't put it on. It's too scary. But then it's getting to the point where it's going to be just smooth as silk. So in fact, you'll be able to visually tell, perhaps even now you can, visually tell if the car is being driven on FSD or manually, because if it's being driven on FSD, it's smooth and precise. And if you look at if you actually closely observe cars going down the highway, the people are constantly moving in their lanes. So the cars are like doing this all the time when they're manually driven. If it's actually on FSD, it's dead center in the lane. It will actually get to the point where it is not merely, and maybe is at that point, not merely safer than a person, but actually way smoother than manual driving. I can't say enough about the profundity of full self-driving. It is just one of the biggest changes in history that will occur. It's not some feature. it's like a profound. It's really as profound as electrification. And that we already have millions of the cars on the road that will literally achieve this with a software update. I mean, that's like head exploding emoji, I think probably a lot of people in this room realize it, but most of the rest of the world doesn't. Yeah, so.
Given how incredible FSD is and how much merit you're giving to potential future margins of the car, as well as how much impact on society, and given that they didn't even want you to say if it's going to happen this year, just not to jinx it.
Sure.
Would it be possible to have just for some type of public-facing, investor-facing kind of timeline, so that way, you mentioned V12 is coming, and that's AI front end. Could we just see kind of a timeline on this is the version we're at, these are the things we're working on, and this is when we're ETA, so we can kind of see that in real time instead of maybe Elon time.
No, so the thing that's been really difficult with full self-driving is that it very often seems like it's about to happen until you realize that you're actually at a local maximum and that you need to re-architect elements of the software to get out of the local maximum to then a higher local maximum. So it's been this sort of series of logarithmic curves. And that's why it's been like, it seemed like, oh, if you just extrapolate this on a straight line, it gets to self-driving, except that it's not a straight line, it's a logarithmic curve, and it sort of, and you start hitting these like local maximums where you'll sort of asymptote to a certain capability and then have to re-architect things. So now I think we're finally at a high enough local maximum, or will be this year, where to the point where it is, I think, probably safer than a person, meaning the probability of injury on average will be better than a person, even if someone pays no attention to the car. It is worth saying that right now, for human supervised Tesla full self-driving, it is dramatically safer than manual driving. It's like, I think like 4 times safer, maybe more. So it is already a massive safety improvement to have human supervised FSD right now. And I think we will get to the point where we're always going to be in some amount of local maximum, but I think that we'll be in a local maximum that exceeds human level safety this year. Yeah, but I guess we'll see. So anyway, I want to thank you all for coming, and so. Just want to say, your support is super appreciated, and as I say, a friend in need is a friend indeed, and supporting Tesla when the chips are down, those are the real friends, and you're them. So thank you.